Are we ready to start? Is this on? Yeah. Okay. It is 7 o'clock, and I would like to welcome each of you who have come tonight. And not only you who have gathered here, but those at home on closed circuit TV here at Atherton and those online. We want to welcome them all. We also have people here tonight that we could not have this program if it weren't for them. And two of them are our greeters, Jean Aikimoto and Mitsu Asaoka. Let's give them a hand. Thank you so much. And our audio-visual crew tonight is spectacular. We have 3 on both sides. Okay, let's see. On the left back here, let's see, who do we have? Stephen Walker, Natalie C., and Casey Jones. Give them a hand. Woo! And over on the right, oh my goodness, we've got Ron Ho and Joe Wright. And anybody else that I missed? Okay, great. Okay, now, oh yes, Steve Whitford. Where is he?
He's asleep.
Oh, there he is. Oh, sorry about that, Steve. Give him another hand. Okay, now the tradition is birthdays, you know. And boy, do we have birthdays this week. You know, at first glance, I thought, there must be 10 on that list. Well, it's 9. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the 9 names. If you're a birthday person, please stand. And after I've called all 9 names, we'll give you a round of applause. Okay? Is that okay? So stay standing. Dorothy Ensel. Michio Ito. Please stand. Please stand. Trudy Anderson. Is she here? Stephen Matson. Raylene Sylvester. Bertha Glassman. Ann Andrews. Yay! Annette Aris Mendez. Did I say that right? Aris Mendez. And one more. Sadeko Yamamoto. Okay, clap for the birthdays. Birthdays are so special here at Atherton. Okay, so we're ready for our program tonight. Oh, good. We're in good time. So, I'm Nancy, a member of the Town Hall Program Committee. And it's my privilege to introduce first I'll start with my friend. Let me introduce my dear friend, Terry. Right there. We've been friends, I don't know, maybe you can believe this, for 45 plus years. First, we were neighbors on Santa Barbara Street in Pasadena, where the Covenant Church is on the corner, if you know where that is. And we were 8 years neighbors. And then in 1989 until today, we've been Bible study buddies online, on the phone, once a week, faithfully. And it was Terry who introduced me to women celebrating women with her tea parties. She brings joy to life wherever she goes, and she invites you to come along with her. Tonight, she has also brought her husband. Yes, Mike, of over 50 years to join her in sharing their trek together. Now, I'm not sure how to call this trek. Is it Camino Santiago de Compostela? Is that the real, oh, 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 it's a Camino. Anyway, it started more as, I guess, Terry's adventure, but they're going to tell you about 3 parts of the adventure, because you've seen her before. Probably half of you saw her 2 years ago. Yeah, okay. But this evening, Terry and Mike, both of them are going to focus on the final leg of the pilgrimage, which they made together. It's all yours.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm not used to microphones. Anyway, thank you, Nancy, for having us back and me back. Helen, corresponding with you has been great. Want to just thank you all for coming. Some of you were here 2 years ago. Is anybody here? 2 years ago. Okay. Do you remember my right foot? It was in a cast because I had ankle surgery to get ready for this final leg of the trip. The final leg of the trip is 200 miles starting in France, and I was going to go to Burgos, but we'll talk about that later. But I needed to be healthy for that. So my husband and I started this journey. Did you want to say something now?
Okay, thank you. I want to welcome you all to this really is Terry's journey, kind of her story. And I've just kind of been along for the ride. So I've been blessed by that and fortunate to be part of that, and looking forward to sharing some of my part of the journey tonight as well. So I'll bring it back to Terry to get us started.
Okay, so yesterday some of you saw the movie The Way. Okay, and that's what inspired me. Somebody was asking me, what inspired you? So it was in 2012 when the movie was made, and I saw it, and I'm just going to recap a little bit. I said, I have to go. I have to do this. Did any of you feel like that? You had to go and do it? Raise your hands. Oh, come on. I know some of you wanted to do it. Anyway, my goal was going to be, I was going to be 60 in 2 years. I thought when I'm 60, that'll be a good physical goal to do. And so I brought my good girlfriend, Debbie. We trained and saved our money for it. As the remember of the movie, it was a father and his son. The father was a ophthalmologist and very strict and everything, and the son was a little bit of a wanderlust and wanted to do things. So they kind of butt heads. His son said, I want to go and see the world, and he picked the Camino to go. Well, unfortunately, as you saw in the movie, the son passed away. So Martin Sheen's character went to go get the ashes. So the movie spoke to me because of I'm Catholic, my husband and I are both Catholic, just the Catholicism, yes, that word. And because of ashes, he was sprinkling remember he was sprinkling the ashes and all those little spots. That just warmed my heart. So I liked it for that reason. I liked it for the Catholicism of the priest with his rosary. And that was something my girlfriend and I did every day. And every night we went to a pilgrim's mass. And it was also just time out in beautiful God's country. So that's what we did in 2014. But where the heck is Spain? And what is this Camino? I mean, I just saw the movie. I had no idea. Well, here's a map of it. So we're going to click to the map, and Mike's going to talk a little bit about the history.
Okay, so the Camino de Compostela or Camino de Santiago can start a number of different places throughout Europe. They all end in the same place, though. That is in Santiago, which is all the way at the end. It's also called the Way of St. James, the Camino, which basically translates to route or path or road, or some people just simply call it the Way. So this pilgrimage was basically established after the discovery of the relics of St. James in about the 9th century. And then it has continued on, and really from the 10th century on, it's been a popular pilgrimage for Christians or other people who just like to trek for, worldwide for years. So there's many starting points to get you all the way down to Santiago. What we did is started here where you see where it says St. John Piedport. So that's in the southern part of France. And the kind of the irony of the whole thing is that when Jesus died and his apostles drew lots, James went to España, which is present-day Spain. So he never set foot in France. But he started kind of in the northern Basque area of Spain, not that far from St. Jean. Yeah. So there's a couple reasons why people start in France and in St. John Piedport, and they call that the French way. The first is it's kind of easy to get to. It's a small town, but you can fly into Paris, take a short flight to a place called Biarritz. A 45-minute van trip will put you in St. John Piedport, and it's at the base of the Pyrenees Mountains. So there's something about, the distance is one thing, but there's something about starting the beginning of a journey, especially a spiritual journey, kind of putting it in God's hands, that makes this very special, because you're going up and over the Pyrenees. We have some pictures of that. It's maybe the hardest physical thing I've ever done in my life, where you're going up literally elevations that look like this. You're going through wind, rain, fog, shale that you're slipping on, and I think, what did we do that day when we went over the Pyrenees? About 15 miles, so it was an exhausting day, but those are really the two reasons that people will start in France, though others will start other places. Yeah. So there he is. Okay, so there's a little bit about St. James. We talked about how he became part of this. Terry's going to give you some more information on that now, but you'll see these statues of St. James all through Spain.
So as Mike said, James wasn't a saint at that point, was a disciple of Christ, and they all went and they were doing spreading Christianity. So he chose Spain. He was known for a staff to ward off foxes or hounds or whatever, and he carried a scallop shell. And this is how you would know pilgrims, with their scallop shell. So we'll talk a little more about that. But this would be on your backpack, and when you would be walking the Camino, you would say Buen Camino, because you knew he was a pilgrim. So he had the staff to keep him safe, and a scallop shell to drink water from a stream, to have his lunch with berries, and, there you go. So that was kind of St. James's look, okay? Now there's a lot of legends, a lot of fables about James. So after James, spread the good word, had people baptized or, become Christians, he went back to Jerusalem. Well, that King Herod didn't like him. Off with your head. And he was one of the first martyrs of all the apostles. So that was kind of an interesting note. So off with his head, and his apostles felt, oh my gosh. So they buried him. They put him in a coffin, and they set the coffin out into the ocean. Go away. Well, guess what? The coffin landed on the West Point in Spain, legend has it, filled with scallop shells all on the casket. Legend has it. I'm going with this legend. Apparently, a shepherd saw this white thing floating in the ocean. He gets it. Now, how he knew it was St. James's body, I don't know, but he thought it was James. So he got the relics or the skeleton and buried it into a chapel, which then became the Cathedral of Santiago. And Santiago means St. James, Santiago. And de Compostela means stars. Because out there when you're walking, if you're walking at night, which I really didn't do, but there is just beautiful stars. So it's Santiago de Compostela, St. James of the stars. That's what that means. Okay, so now you've got a little history there. So the next one is Debbie and I, and we did this in 2014. And for those of you who are 2 years ago, a long old story, but we started in Saria, which is this little note right here. And that was about 100 miles to earn our certificate. So here's a certificate that I earned after walking 100 miles. And I put it on my refrigerator for all the world to see. Now, how do you know you get that certificate is you have a passport. And this passport got, people are shaking their heads, you know this. You would get stamped if you had a cup of coffee, or you stayed at a hostel or an albergue, or a pension. Anybody familiar with those names? Those are just different names for like Airbnb, you know, Airbnb. So we would get these stamps, and then you would show the constable in Santiago, in Spain, and therefore you would get your certificate. So, you know, I don't have my kids' artwork anymore, so now I got my certificate. So Debbie and I, when we did this trip, we walked 100 miles, and we prayed the rosary every morning. We were both Catholic. We greeted everybody you saw, Buen Camino, and you knew they were pilgrims by their shell. We went to Pilgrim's Mass every night. We had a Pilgrim's dinner every night, and that consisted of a bottle of wine, a thing of bread, and some meat. And maybe you got a green bean. Maybe. Vegetables weren't big there. And people would often say, well, gosh, how did you know where you were going? Did you ever get thirsty? And there was this water fountains all along the way. And no, I'm not an Amazon carrier. I was thinking maybe you guys thought, oh, she must be bringing Amazon in. No, I had to get this, sir. So this is the arrow that's pointing the way. So I want to bring, I brought this brochure. Some of you guys might have picked them up, but it's the 4 signs of the Camino. And the first one is the yellow arrow. Going this way. We would have been lost if we didn't find that arrow. I don't know if they showed that much they did, didn't they, in the movie The Way? Could you see arrows in that? So let me just explain to you about what the yellow arrow represents. It says, I've cut it out here. The arrow shows us the Camino path. If it weren't for this, many times we wouldn't know where we were going. Whenever we find it again, we are reassured that we are on the right track. How do we feel when we can't find arrows? Not good. And we are so grateful for the people that keep this Camino path alive by repainting those arrows. And throughout this talk, you're going to see how creative people can be with these arrows. It's pretty fun. So what the little nugget with this is, our life is like a Camino. Sometimes we feel lost and frustrated when we can't find the right way or the signs to reassure us. What arrows do you follow? Who or what do you look to in life to point the way? So that's a little history of the arrow, hence the sweatshirt. Okay, so my girlfriend and I, we did the 100 miles. We make it, the blank, it was a snowy day. We made it to the cathedral, and we went to the Pilgrim's Mass. And keep it there for just a second. And the Pilgrim's Mass, everybody wants to go to a Pilgrim's Mass because 9 times out of 10, the priest is going to say, are there any pilgrims out here? And we'll stand up, wearily standing up, and he'll give us a blessing, or he'll give us a little memento. They love us pilgrims out there. So the pilgrim mass was in Santiago Cathedral. And the most wonderful thing to witness is the Bodo Familio. Did you guys see that in the movie in the way? I think that was in it. And the Bodo Familio is this large 100-pound incense vessel. It takes 8 men to hoist it up. And that was a part of the movie when Martin Sheen saw his son as one of the gentlemen. And those gentlemen, they have a name. It's Tribolarios. They are handpicked to do this. They get to wear a red cloak, and it is passed down through generation to their son. So what a neat thing that is. So this is a 100-pound incense vessel going north to south of the cathedral. If you've ever been to this cathedral, it's massive. Just imagine something in this building going like this and this. And it weighs, I said 100 pounds, it goes 35 miles an hour, back and forth, back and forth. Anyway, but why incense? What do you think? Why would they have incense in a church? That's a Catholic thing, but what, Helen? Lift up prayers. Excellent. Also, back in the day, weren't a lot of showers. People were walking. They didn't have albergues or pensions or hostels to stay in and get that one shower, and with 50 people, they were sleeping out in the field. The stench was unbelievable, and the priest could hardly do the mass, you know. So that's why we have the incense. So it's a great tradition. It's been going on for years. Okay. Blah, 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 da, da, da. Okay. Well, after that trip, I said, oh gosh, I got to go again. It's in me. I'm going to finish this thing by the time I'm 70. So I waited 5 years, and I was like the little red hen. Who will go with me? Who will go with me? Anyone want to walk 300 miles? Just raise your hand. Okay, yes, okay. Mind you, nobody did the whole thing with me, but I did have our first, oop-a-doops. Okay, yeah, so here's the map again. This time, I wanted to do 300, and I started in Burgos, right here, quite a way. So I'm going to go all the way to Santiago. I'm sorry. As you can see on the map, Burgos, past Leon, and Santiago. And I have to tell you, Burgos and Leon, Santiago, all have most beautiful cathedrals, and that's what you want to see when you're in Spain, is these cathedrals. So I got Trevor as our youngest son, and his wife Stephanie started my journey of 25 miles because they left home a 1-year-old baby. Yours truly got to watch a 1-year-old for like 3 or 4 days. He was so glad to see them when they got home. And they did 25 miles with me because they were going to go, to Portugal. And this is their vacation. Who goes on vacation and walks? Don't you want to sit by a beach and drink a margarita or something? Anyway, God loved them. So then our third son, I think, yes, isn't he happy? He hasn't started walking yet. Yeah. So I walked 25 miles with our youngest son and his wife. Then I did 60 by myself. Then Trent joined me at 65. And then we walked another 60, 70 miles. And we went, I think you can go. Yes, we went through the streets of Leon. We saw beautiful, churches and had a great time. And then he left, and then I was alone for another 50 miles. And then my betrothed came. Oh, but before that, I had to be by myself, and I was watching the arrows, right? Can you see the arrow on this? Hello? You got to keep your eyes open. Okay, next one, because there's another one. Okay, can I tell you a fun story? Kind of scary. So I'm in this city, and it's, oh my gosh, it's right in here somewhere, Punta Barata. And most of the places are sweet little cottages or little inns or little, but this was in the city, and I was like staying in a hotel. Closer? Closer? Sorry. Okay, so I'm in the city. And the next morning, I get up around 6:30 because I want to get a good day walk in before it gets too warm. It's pitch black. and I'm not finding that arrow. And I'm by myself. And I'm like, oh. So I'm going to tell you, and I've told you this last time, I called a taxi. But I'm told your Camino is your Camino. So I fudged 3 miles. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest with you. So he drove me to a church, and he doesn't speak a lick of English, and I don't speak Spanish. Like, church, Camino, pilgrim. Yes, yeah. So he drops me off, and it's still pitch dark. Okay, now, I'm looking for that arrow. Finally, I'm walking, and and this, as you can see, it's dark in the background. This was a flashlight, but I'd never been so happy to see this arrow pointing the way. And these are the little markers that Martin Sheen was putting the ashes on, doing the Camino for his dad. So that was fun. So then finally, now my betrothed is here. There he is. He's so happy. He hasn't started the 100 miles yet. Meanwhile, I've done already 200, and I'm like, let's go. So notice the backpacks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the backpacks of life, right? So our backpacks, as you see, are right here. And it says, when we are all at home, we really don't care what's on our back. We can put it in a cupboard, we can put it on a shelf, we can put it in the garage. But on the way of the Camino, we have to carry everything. I'm not bringing a hairdryer and curling iron. That's just not going to happen. Or even a book. We want to realize what we take in life and on the Camino is what we have to carry. So on the Camino of life, we all do carry a backpack. Sometimes we'll add things to it that we have to carry, and it might be too much. What can you take out of your backpack today and make your trip, your life lighter? What excessive baggage are you carrying in life? Food for thought. Okay, so we are getting ready to go. We're going to do the next 100 miles. Mike and I were so excited. And there he is getting water from the water fountain. Now remember this, because this is going to be a quiz at the end. And there was this water, and this was great. So next is those arrows. This is on a house. They put it on their house because we are pilgrims walking. Oh, we're on the right path, right? Okay. Let's see. And next. Okay. So unfortunately, Mike got sick, but I had to finish this in front of and it was rainy that day, so there I am. There's how massive that cathedral is. Isn't that something? Gorgeous. But I have to go again. Who will go with me? Who will go with me? As the little redhead said. And I was going to start now. And we're going to talk more about that St. John Peter port. I was going to do the harder part last. I don't know. I never knew I was going to do this in the first place. So now I'm going to go in France. As Mike said, we just flew into Paris. I took a little thing. But who would go with me? Our 4 boys went with us. Our 4 boys, 2 wives, 1 girlfriend. They all wanted to come and be a part of this and do the hardest part. This was not easy for some of them. One son just had a little knee surgery, and another son hadn't done much exercise, so this was unbelievable. So just a note on that. Yeah, we can go. There they go. So they came. Here's a father, and they're all smiley. They don't know what they're in for the next day. This is the night before. So this is our oldest son, Ryan, our second son, Brett, Trent, he's got a shell on. He was a pilgrim, and Trevor. Okay, so we were so blessed to have our kids. And like any smart mom, they had to have matching shirts. If I lost one of them, I could say, did you see anybody with that? And then I said, anyway. I know one son was wearing it the other day. I said, really, you still have that? Okay. Sorry. Okay, so So this is the fun part. So Trevor, he's our musician. And he had to bring his guitar, for heaven's sakes. Good heavens. You're going to walk and bring a guitar, you know? He didn't listen to his mother, which was a good thing. So this is just coming up the Pyrenees. What Mike was saying it was you know, straight uphill. And we're, and so he stops, and he's playing his guitar. And it's like, how are you breathing, kid? But, you know, other people were stopping too because they had to, you know, catch their breath. So if you notice this, oops, right back, sorry, babe. This gentleman with a walking stick. And a lot of people asked us, did you bring a walking stick? Did you have a walking stick? I didn't want to carry one extra thing. But on the 4 symbols of, and trust me, you're going to hear Mike in a few minutes, but I'm just hogging it up right now. A walking stick, and here's a little blurb on that. Every pilgrim needs help to keep walking. And that's what we were saying. There are angels all along the way. These people would come out of the woodwork to help us. And walking sticks helped people walk. And it could have been just a certain person. One woman gave us some gummies, but not those gummies, but gummies, just some little sweets to kind of keep us going because we were so tired. Another woman had just left her place of business and gave us some water on the Camino. So there were just angels everywhere, but it was like they were helping us. We needed that extra help. It said, this is one of the great lessons of the Camino. Everybody wants to help you. They know what you're doing. It says, and who are the people in your life that is a walking stick to help you through your journey? And what would it look like if you were a walking stick for someone else? So that was kind of a fun little story. So here's Trevor, the guitar kid. He's singing along, okay? And then we're in the Pyrenees. Oh my gosh. Freezing cold, windy, wet, rainy, slippery. What? We just left, you know, sunny France. And this woman, another angel, brought her van in the middle of going up the Pyrenees and sold hot chocolate. And her husband owned a goat farm and had goat cheese. Goat cheese and hot chocolate? I don't know. Nothing tastes better than that. And here are our kids, because you see how cold it is there. It's like, oh my gosh, cold and foggy. So, and then in the middle of nowhere is this beautiful picture of the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus. People leaving mementos, little holy cards or a little cross, just out of the blue. Who put that there? Why did they put that there? As I was mentioning the terrain, let's see, you can go. Okay, look what we're doing. We're walking in front. We couldn't even see half the kids behind us. But like we were mentioning, it was slippery. We've heard people slip and fall on the Pyrenees, which is what, you know, Emilio Estevez supposedly did in the movie, the movie. But I'm going to talk about Band-Aids because our one son did get blisters. And that's the other thing. When you train for this Camino, you've got to work your shoes in. You gotta work your socks in, and you gotta put miles on that because you know, that's just you and your boots up there. But here's the last little thing about Band-Aids and bandages that we all were very familiar with. Blisters and wounds and sprains. Nobody is free from pain on the Camino. Sooner or later, our body pays a price. And we might have to take a slower pace or stop. Strangely, the Camino wouldn't be the same if it didn't have a little pain. We start off each day and we become a different person each night after putting in 15, 19 miles. You know, and it's amazing how God works. The next day you're fine. You could do it again. And you do, because you have to. It says, on the Camino of life, similar things happen to us which we must learn to deal with. How do you face the pains of life? And do you have life wounds which you need to deal with? So that's my last blurb on that. Okay, so now we're in Spain. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. There. Okay, we made it over the Pyrenees. We're all happy. We all got the pilgrim's meal, the wine. I mean, my kids love wine. And bread and meat and maybe a green bean. But we're all really happy. Yay, we done. We got showered and we cleaned up and got out of our shoes. Okay, next. Now we have entered Spain. So from there, Santiago de Compostela is 790 kilometers. Thank you. Yes, which is 500 miles. Okay, so look at that. We were actually in the newspaper in Orange County because, bring your paper and get a picture. So there we are. Okay, then, so Trevor, we're just singing along in the woods. Notice the shale, though. This is not fun to walk when it's wet and you're going up a hill, okay? Okay, my famous one is, okay, now we've become known as the parents with the guitar kid. And so here we are stopping. Trevor's playing, he's playing a little Beatle tune. I don't know if you know, hey, you've got to hide your loving way. Trevor's playing, people are listening. These three kids, I think they were from New Zealand, and this guy's, he's carrying a soccer ball, so Trevor's not so far off. He's got a soccer ball? Really? You're gonna kick that around? Trevor's playing guitar. So anyway, just a note on that. Again, on this community, you're gonna see people all through the whole time. It's a 500-mile trek. You're bound to run into somebody. So we meet these Kiwis, and they, are you the guitar? Where's your son, the guitar guy? We had to go home to the kids. Yada, he goes, did he write that song? Was it Beatles? Beatles? Oh, you don't know. You're in New Zealand, and you're 20. Anyway, that was that. And then the final was that they had walked with 60 miles with us last night. Everybody's really happy because they're all going home, or they're going to Portugal, or they're going to the south of France. And yeah, they're all excited, but we continue on. And now it's your turn, babe. Okay.
So now it is just Terry and I, and, a lot more solitude, a little less noise, with all the kids gone. But we had a little ritual. We started off every morning with our rosaries, and we spent the first part of the day saying the rosary. And it was a great thing just to kind of center ourselves, kind of prepare ourselves for what was to come that day, which was miles or weather, or Terry said shale. We just seemed to find wet ground every place we went. But the rosary became a kind of a thing that we did every morning.
Oh, this is me. Okay, in the movie, you guys saw the movie yesterday, right? This was Alto Perdona. This is a good thing. When I was getting ready to do this, I said, I have to see this. So remember in the movie, they make it up there, and it's windier than heck, and some guy's riding a bike. And one of the guys says, oh, you can ride a bike on the Camino? So I looked it up, and it was on the mountainside of Alto Perdon, where this sculpture by Vicente Galbete made it, and he titled these, and there was about, 6 or 7 of them depicting pilgrims. The title is Where the Path of the Wind Crosses That of the Stars, because I bet at nighttime it's beautiful, but it was just such a windy day that day, and that was a place that I had to take a picture. Okay, I guess you could stay there. Okay, so
one of the things that you'll find throughout the entire Camino are monuments. There might be a small little chapel if you're going into a small town. This particular one was the Shrine of the Virgin de la Cueva outside of a town called Viana. So some of them, that's a pretty ornate one. It's got glass in it. Some of them are not, but they were just good places to stop, give some thanks, kind of prepare yourself for the next part of the journey. And so you always looked forward to finding those little nuggets that were on the trail, and we always made sure we stopped to see them.
Your turn. You're gonna have to keep doing that.
Yes. Okay. So Terry had mentioned the Pilgrim's Mass a couple of different times. Just to give you a little bit more context of what that is, these are small towns for the most part, some of them really small. But if they had a Pilgrim's Mass, it could be locals who were there, but it also would be people from around around the world. And a lot of times the priest at the end of Mass would have everybody come up who was a pilgrim and tell him and everybody else where they were from. And it was just this kind of bonding thing that we had. One time we were in a very small, I'm going to call it a hamlet, because there were, I think, only 30 people that lived there, but it did have an albergue, a pretty good restaurant, and a church. So it was raining, we went to the church, we're in there, and we see a well-dressed, middle-aged gentleman walk in. I said, well, he must be a local, or he might be the deacon. And he was he was in a suit. And so he's asking people where they were from. And what he was trying to do was assign readings in their language. So he had one in French, one in English, one in Spanish, one in Korean. And so then everybody participated in the Mass. Well, when he comes out from the back, he's in his vestments. He's the priest. He's not some guy in a suit. But at the end, he made sure, did some recognition of everybody who was there, just made you feel special. So the Pilgrim's Masses were great. There was one time we were looking forward to going to a Pilgrim's Mass. We're lined up outside of the church. There's probably 50 people there, and nobody shows, and the doors are locked. So one guy who was Irish, he says to a young American man, he says, hey, John, you did a prayer service a few weeks ago. Do you want to do another one? So here's this group. There was English, Irish, Americans, Australians, and I think Serbians. And this young kid, we all held hands. We were out front. We said a prayer, and then we all went on our night. So it was, again, one of those special kind of God moments that you find out in the Camino almost every day.
It's my turn. Okay, so I did mention the water fountains, but did you know they had wine in one of them? Oh my, day drinking never looked so good at 10 in the morning. It was like, I knew I wanted to see this too. And it was in a winery called Bodegas Arache, and it was in a small town of Acqui. Anyway, that was on our trail, and we're walking along, and there was giving out wine. It was so fun. Anyway, little tasty, just to get you on the way. Okay, I think the next one's, yes. So then we were talking about the churches, and I just took this picture because I loved how the light went through the stained glass window, mosaic window. But this Jesus, familiar with crucifixes, this guy had hair, real hair. He had clothing on. He was beat up pretty good. But that was just the way they wanted to depict their Jesus in this church. Okay?
Okay, so you saw up on the hill those sculptures.
Yeah.
But you see them in other areas too. This is a town called Langrano, pretty good sized town, and we got somebody to take some pictures of Terry and I. So your typical day is, you're up pretty early because you want to get going. You don't sleep in till 10 because you're going to get into some heat or whatever is out on the trail. And we'd have our kind of a big breakfast, Pilgrim's breakfast, and then we would start walking about 7 o'clock. The idea being, no matter, depending on how long we were going, we wanted to be in the town that we were going to stay that night by 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 1:30. So we go to the albergue. Can we get into our room? If we could, great. If we couldn't, they would hold on to these backpacks for us, and we would get out of our boots, and you cannot believe how good that felt. Get out of the boots, get out of the socks, get some sandals on, maybe change your shirt, and then we would walk around looking for lunch and maybe explore the town a little bit. After we ate, we'd gotten a little energy, but Terry has talked about the backpack. So that's hers, slightly smaller. This is mine. Full, that was about 15 pounds. Doesn't sound like much, right? 15 pounds, but carry it over, 15 miles, and you feel it, especially in your shoulders. So you don't put a whole lot of stuff in there. There's no frills. You know, we would have one set of clean clothes for the evening, and then we would maybe have an extra shirt, extra socks, and sometimes we'd wash them out in our rooms, try to let them dry, and hopefully they would be dry the next day. And your sandals, of course, some toiletries, maybe a book, and that was it. Like Terry said, no hair dryers, no curling irons, and, you know, it was no frills, and if you kind of see maybe the shadow there, in my case, no razor.
No razor. He did not shave. He was a good sport. I think that's you.
And then one more kind of spiritual moment that we came on the trail. This was on our last day of actual walking. This was on the way to the town of Burgos, which is a pretty big town, but out here you're a little bit out in the middle of nowhere. But here somebody had resurrected a cross and piled up all these rocks. Those weren't up like that when it was first erected. It's people who would grab a rock, maybe from here, and put it up on the pile. The whole idea being, put your troubles behind you. Leave your troubles behind you and go on the way that you're going on the path.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, so again, looking for those arrows. Good grief. You could just walk right over it and not, know it was. So this was in Lograno, but it was heading towards Burgos, which is the final picture. And this is Burgos. This is where I started 5 years ago, and I ended last year. So that concludes our talk on the Camino. If anybody has any, Daryl's got something. Oh, he's going to be. Any-
Be thinking.
I noticed in the movie, on the backpack, there was a big, I guess, patch. It was white and red. It was white background and red. Looked like a sun with all the rays that
Yeah.
were sticking out.
Yeah.
What was the symbolism of that?
That is showing you good question, Hilda. That is, let me show you. It is the scallop shell, okay, which is basically, but they make it look like a sun. And if you can see this, it's how I understood it. This is Santiago de Compostela at the bottom. The rays are the different paths to go to Santiago. Like we said, there's a Portugal way, there's another way that we have heard about, but there's a lot of different ways. And really, they have said, you can start your Camino, your pilgrimage, anywhere you live. There were people in Germany, going to do the Camino, and they're going to walk from Germany to there. I mean, there are those extreme people, but, and I didn't mean to preface that it was a religious experience, but for me it was. A lot of people just go, it's a day's walk. They just want to take a walk. I remember one time a whole family was going out, and this was just, an afternoon day. We're going to walk 10 miles with the kids, get them out of the house. So yeah, it's not religious for everybody. It was just religious for me. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you. The arrows in the different cities or places where you stop, were they evident, and how do you know where to go to the next arrow?
That's it. You just keep walking straight and you pray to God. There's somebody in front of you with this, And you're usually, that's a good question, because they might be, 50 feet a ways, right? So, you've got this arrow pointing this way. You're not going to go there or there. You're just going to go straight. But good question. Yeah. But for the most, yes? Oh, gosh. Yeah, because we couldn't find the arrow. One time, Mike and I, we were lost. We were going and going and going. And of course, you're looking for other pilgrims. We didn't see any. And was that when we turned around and we saw a group of people going that way? Okay, we got to retrack. And you don't want to ever walk more than you have to. You're already tired. Yeah. Any more? You guys have got good questions. Oh. Daryl, you're good. Quick on the feet.
How far apart were the arrows?
You know, like 50 to 100 feet, sometimes longer, a good block. Just depends. Then you might see them very quickly, like from that pillar to that pillar, but it just depends. And then the fields, like when we were in the Pyrenees, we were looking forever for those arrows. There's one path, so you're going to pretty much stay on that path. But yeah, good question. Just, sometimes 50 feet, sometimes a block along that was pointing straight, so you're just going to go straight.
At the places where you bedded down, did you have reservations, or is it first come, first serve? Is that why you wanted to get there early, or?
That's a good question too. So I'm kind of, mamby-pamby here. I had a travel agent, and she asked me, how many miles do you want to walk a day? 10, 12 miles a day. So she has this map of, and she goes, this hotel can go, this pension can be good for you, this albergue would be good for you. You have to walk 10 miles that day. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have anything until 19 miles. What? I said 10 to 12. So some days were 15, our longest was 19, and but that's where their hotel was. But that was the lovely part, because we had a bath every night or a shower. We had a hot meal for dinner and breakfast. Some people can do it the less expensive and just try to find a place that has room at the inn. If you want to do that, we met some people, right, Mike, that there's no room here, we have to keep walking. I don't want to walk, you're done walking, So we always had a place to stay. That was good. Thank you. That's a good question. Helen.
Did GPS help?
That's the other thing. You have to pay, I had to pay, $10 a day to have my GPS on all the time. We were gone for a month. That was $300. Not that rich. So if you got in a cafe, it would last, but then it's gone. Hence the arrow. You would just follow the arrow, or any other pilgrims. But yeah, GPSs did work for some people who had that extra app. Yes. He's good at this.
Who put the yellow markers out?
Well, that's it. There is a Camino group, and they will refresh those arrows, paint them, replace them. That's the beauty of this, that it's such a community thing. Let's face it, it's tourism. You're getting people from all over the world to use your restaurant or to buy that sweatshirt. So they want to keep that going, and it's safe. They want to make it safe for everybody. It's not saying it's easy, because we're doing hills and we're going through some, rough terrain sometimes. But there must be a committee that keeps the arrows up to date. Good question. Thanks. You guys are great. Great questions. That it? Any more? Oh, Carol, no, this gal.
Were you inspired by the film, or did you do it and then see the film? Were you inspired by the film, or did you start and then see the film?
I know I saw the film, and I said I had to go. That's why I asked you guys if you saw the film, if you had to go. No? You didn't want to go? Oh, yeah.
So, there's a lot of ways to go on this. You can go on this. They have bus tours that they'll start, and they'll take you all the way, but they'll stop at kind of historical parts of it. There's other people who, I think they call it Camino Light. They don't even carry a backpack, and their luggage is transported to their next place. Some people go on bikes, electric bikes, but you can actually take a bus from, let's say you flew into Madrid, all the way to Santiago. So you get to see all the great sites and cathedrals and all of that. So yeah, there's not any walking involved in it.
Any more questions?
Joy?
Another one.
Terry, how long did it take you, the exact length, and when you got to your destination, did you fly home?
Home? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So how long was your trip? Then I also wanted to know altitude.
Yeah. The altitude was, what did I think, 5,000 feet at the Pyrenees. Yeah, that was, that was, good question, Joyce. She wanted to know, how high was the altitude? So top of the Pyrenees was 5,000 feet. Now, it wasn't straight up, it was this. And so I remember training, we have a place in our Tustin called Peters Canyon that's up and, and I thought, I'm going to be so ready for these Pyrenees. But I did not walk in the rain, no. Or shale, or wind or fog. I didn't do that. I just walked on a sunny day, So we were gone for 3 weeks doing this last leg, the 200-mile one, and then we went to France afterward. So we were gone for a month, but we flew into France. Right, babe? And then went out in France, so, yeah. If you walk 10 to 12 miles a day, you can, get a couple of 100 miles in, a couple weeks. Yeah. Oh, Helen again. Helen, I love your questions.
So, Terry and John,
Mike.
are you done? What's his name?
Mike.
Mike. Are you done?
I'm checking that off my box of my bucket list. Yeah. That's what people, do you want to do it again? No, I'm good. There's other things to do, right? Yeah. So that I am, grateful I did it. It was a great trip of a lifetime, but I won't do that again. Don't have to do it. Yeah. That's a good question. Thanks. Yes, Joy.
Were there first aid stations?
Not necessarily. There were enough little towns that you could buy that bandage or for blisters. And if you had your phone, you could call somebody, because a lot of people, I heard some woman broke her ankle, coming down one of these things, and she's out in the middle of nowhere. So there is ways to get help. And, there are towns within, 10 to 15 miles, where you're going to stay. But yeah, there was places to go for sure to get help. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Anyone else? You guys are
Terry, in the beginning, you showed a slide with was it a book that said The Way?
That was the movie.
Oh, the movie. Oh,
Yeah.
mine would be No Way.
No, way. Oh, that was a joke. You should have led with that, Daryl. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Anything else? Somebody who's just waiting. Ah,
You did good. You got 8
big
o'clock.
opportunity here.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, Terry, one more thing, or Mike too. What was one of the most inspiring moments that you had on the Camino? Either of you.
Yeah. Number one, just the fact that our boys took the time off. That was just warmed our hearts to the max. So that was wonderful. I will say, the lady selling the hot chocolate at the Pyrenees, that was so hopeful, here's somebody taking, she's making money, not a lot of money, but she knew what you needed. You needed a piece of protein, a big fat piece of cheese, and a hot chocolate. Just those moments. People just took a little bit of time to be your walking stick, to help you out. But just the fact that our kids wanted to be with us, that was the best. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Terry. Yes. Okay. I think they'll be here for a little bit while they're packing up their stuff. And I just want to say, may you have been inspired tonight to consider the next challenge on your journey. Thank you.